You know, we've all done it. You're cleaning out a cabinet, you find an old bottle of pills, and you think, is this still good? That little date on the label, it seems so simple, right? But it's actually the very last step in this huge global scientific process. So let's pull back the curtain and really dig into the science behind a medicine's shelf life.
So what does that date really mean? Is it like a best buy date on a carton of milk, a hard deadline, or just kind of a suggestion? Well, it turns out that date is anything but random. It's really the finish line of a super long and complicated scientific journey. And the whole thing is designed for one reason and one reason only, to keep you safe.
Right. So that date you see on the bottle, it's not just a friendly suggestion. Think of it more like a promise, a guarantee. And it's a promise that a company can only make after a drug has been put through its paces. I mean, a whole gauntlet of really tough scientific tests.
Yeah, so think of that expiration date as the manufacturer's personal promise to you. They're saying, up until this day, we can guarantee this medicine is 100% potent and safe to use. But, and this is a big but, that's only if you've stored it correctly. After that date, well, all bets are kind of off.
So to really wrap our heads around what that date means, we've got to understand the core idea behind it. And that idea is something called pharmaceutical shelf life. Okay, listen closely to the last part of this definition, under specified storage conditions. That's the key. That's the fine print, you know? That whole guarantee of safety and effectiveness, it only holds up if the medicine is stored the way it's supposed to be. Which, by the way, is exactly why your steamy bathroom medicine cabinet is probably the absolute worst place to keep your pills.
But wait a minute. Like milk, it does possibly make it go bad. Well, the enemies here are totally invisible. We're talking about environmental factors that are just constantly attacking a drug's active ingredients. And over time, they slowly make it less effective, or sometimes even flat out unsafe.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? Well, the big ones are temperature and humidity. Think about it. Too hot, too damp, and the chemical structure of a medicine break down. And that's where the third factor comes in. It's not just a container. It's the medicine's first line of defense. That little pack. Engineered design medicines all over the world. You can't have one set of and a totally different set in Japan. That would be absolute chaos. So, sure, everyone is on the stage. Regulatory bodies and companies all over the globe came together to create a single rulebook for stability.
And having this global standard is so important. It means that a drug that's tested for CNC and has to be the exact same. At the end of the day, it's all about making sure patients are safe, no matter where in the world they live.
This global rulebook is managed by an organization called the ICH. That's the International Council for Harmonization. And their guidelines are basically broken down into two key parts. First, you've got ICH Q1A. Think of this as the how-to manual. It gives the exact detailed recipe for how to conduct these stability tests. We've got ICH Q1E, which is the what it means part. This one is all about how to take all the data from those tests and use it to figure out a final shelf life.
Okay, so we've got the global rulebook. Now, how do scientists actually put a drug to the test? Let's walk through the step-by-step process they use to land on that final date you see on the bottom.
Well, first things first, before you can even start testing if a medicine is still good, you have to define what good actually means, right? And that's where this idea of acceptance criteria comes into play. Basically, these are the rules of the game. Before a single test even starts, scientists set these really firm, non-negotiable limits. For example, they might say that a drug is officially expired if its main active ingredient drops below 90% of its original strength. That specific, measurable number becomes the benchmark for the entire process.
All right, so to gather the data, scientists use a few different kinds of studies. You have your long-term studies, which are exactly what they sound like. They test the drug under normal conditions for, years. But nobody wants to wait that long to get a drug to market. So to speed things up, they also run what are called accelerated studies. This is where they basically put the drug in a hot, humid environment to simulate the passage of time much faster. It's kind of time for medicine, letting them predict what might happen over several years in just a few months.
So let's put it all together. Here's how the whole process works, step by step. First, they set those acceptance criteria, defining the rules of the game.
So they actually conduct all those different stability studies to start gathering data. Step 3 is super important. They have to meticulously document every single result for the regulators. And finally, step 4, they take all that data and feed it into powerful statistical models to analyze it and confidently predict that final shelf life. And that's the number that ends up on your bottle.
Now, as you can probably imagine, this whole process is, well, it's not simple, and it's definitely not cheap. It's a massive undertaking, and it comes with some serious real-world challenges for the companies that make these medicines.
I mean, seriously, this stuff is tough. We're talking about studies that can cost millions and millions of dollars and run for years. On top of that, companies have to navigate this incredibly complex maze of different international regulations. And after all of that carefully collected data could be thrown out because of something as simple as a power outage that messes with the temperature in the lab. But here's the thing. Despite all the costs and all the complexity, the end goal here is completely non-negotiable. It's a fundamental commitment to our health. Every single step in this incredibly detailed process is designed to do one thing and one thing only: to fulfill that critical mission of ensuring the medicine you take is both safe and effective.
So, the next time you pick up a medicine bottle and check that expiration date, what are you going to think about? Will you just see a number, or will you see the hidden story behind it all? The years of research, the global teamwork, and the incredibly rigorous science, all of it working together just to deliver that simple guarantee of safety. Something to think about, right?